I've been waiting a while to get to this video. The wing fullback guns, it's a very, very fun one to go through. All of these guys, they have some type of merit of being in your team. There's Latrell Mitchell, who got all the way up to a 59.7 average this year and is one of the 5 highest priced players in the game and can show how important the wing fullbacks can be at times. And you've got Teddy at 55 last year, who was absolutely spectacular. Dylan Edwards had his best season. You've got Ponga with not his best season, but a really nice one at a 54 average. You got Turbo at a 52.6. There were plenty of great guys, and we'll go all the way down through Walsh, Drinky, who's going to be interesting this year, Keanu Keeney, Brian To'o, and Clint Gutherson with Jaden Campbell. I've gone through him already in the halves video, so go back and check the half guns. 54 average last year for him, and there's talks of him being in the 7 jersey. But to kick off today's video, guys, we've got Latrell Mitchell at that 59.7. I just want to go through and show you how I do look at stats. And when we go through the season, all of the goods will be on footystatistics.com. An awesome site that just gives you everything in a lovely rundown there. They'll even give you some, somewhat close break evens. It seems to be a little bit off, but enough to give you a general idea of what you should be looking at. But when we go through all our tabs here, it just gives us a nice, easy way of looking at stats. And if we go straight to 2024, we look at an average there of 59.7. You go back to 2023, you've got 54, which is pretty interesting. 52 in 2022. And then you can go back to 2021, he got up to 56. So he's never scored this high before. And that's just a quick and easy way to have a look at someone's stats and go, oh, is this something that could be replicated? And let's have a look at the stats and why he did score more this year. And if he can replicate that. And just looking at the kick meters, so the KMs there, in that last 5 games that he played, he took such an incredibly big role. And he moved to a guy that, yes, they went on a good run themselves. Cowboys there, they lost, but it was a high-scoring game. They beat the Eels 42-26. We had 46-12 against the Titans, 22-12 against the Broncos, and then 32-16 against the Eels. And this is actually some stats that some interesting things I didn't notice until I just looked at it right then. But the quality of outfit that they played against as well needs to come into question. You had the Cowboys who did beat them, but where's the defense in any of these games apart from the Broncos game? And he scored a try. He got a try assist, a line break assist, 291 kick meters, 176 kick meters in that one as well with the turnover tackle and 3 goals. And he picked up the 59. But yes, he did have a sin bin in that one, I believe, which dropped him down. But that was the hardest of the fixtures, and they still won that one. But you had the Eels twice, who came second last. And yeah, you can see they smashed them in that one. And then the Titans is always a high-scoring game, and they weren't doing well at that point of the year. So that's 3 of the 5 games. And then the Cowboys one they had a good battle with. And he was tremendously dominant with 10 tackle breaks and 7 kick defusals as well. But you look at the other scores throughout the early part of the season, and it was, he had 81 in Vegas, 53 back against the Broncos. He had 3 tryless games with 24, 53, 29, and then a double with a 52. So very, very up and down in terms of his scoring last year, but he has that tremendous ceiling in those games where he did end up kicking a lot of meters. Let's just go through what I looked at and what I deduced from his stats there. So the price is an interesting wow. He's at Haas price, which is crazy. The role's great. He absolutely does it all. He definitely has high 3-game upside for sure. And I do think you could regret not owning if he goes, because he's someone that can go bang, 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 70, 80, 90, and just get people off to a cracking start. But is it fit Trell season that everyone's saying? I spoke about those averages, and you're looking at kick meters as a big change overall last year. He did up that from 1 and a bit points to basically 5 points a game. So, there's 3.5 on the average. 0.7 tries compared to 0.6. His assists went up from 0.8 to 1.3, and his offloads went up 0.3 as well, which is pretty helpful at sort of 1.2 points per game is 0.3 of an offload. So pretty helpful at that for sure. You got times it by 4 because you get 4 points for the offload to hand anyway. So yeah, just a little bit of a bump in all of those metrics. And if you're looking at 2022, he was a bit down in tries, closer to this year in assists, and the same offloads. So really the big thing is going to be the kick meters. If he keeps those kick meters at 147, then with all the rest there, a little bit of a jump, maybe you don't see that increase. Maybe you could see it drop back a bit, but there's also a chance of him kicking for the 250, 300 kick meters that we did see back then. But we'll go through that in a second. The question is going to be, can we expect the same or any improvement in attacking stats? It's going to be difficult for sure, but he is their best player. There was a complete chain of tactics come round 11 where he had those massive scores, the 80, the 57, 99, the 59, and the 70. He had 4 tries, and the team played well on his back during that time, which is good. It's exactly what they needed. But looking at the quality of outfit as well makes it hard. If the team makes the 8, I think he can exceed 60 for sure. If they do struggle a little bit, he will have those down games, which he didn't have in that little stretch, like he did have them in the start of the year. And the question's going to be, will Wayne have him kicking in general play as much as the 200 plus with a new half? We're looking at combos last year of Walker and Tiapa, and Dion Tiapa, and Walker and Whiten as well, which means not many kick meters, to be honest with you, across the board there. When Walker was playing with Ilias was the main kicker. These types of things that are going to make a difference. Those combinations. Tiapa, he basically kicked for less than 50 meters, I think, in the games that he did play. Whiten kicked for a little bit more, but it wasn't much. He's getting most of his base stats through tackles and runs. He also had 3 sin bins during that time, through the year, so pretty wild on that. And the analysis is literally all on that 5 games there where he dominated and had big kick meters, 250, 300 all alike, which is really scary, but it's also exciting because if that's the case, then he could easily go 60 plus. But you do have to put low scores in his range of outcomes because over the years, he's been that guy. He's got 56, 52, 54. He's got lower seasons than that. He's looking super fit, as we said at the start. There's plenty there. It's definitely the Latrell show, and you'll have fun on the bandwagon, but you also won't have fun at certain times as well. So are you looking at Latrell for your round 1 side? I personally think it's a pretty good situation overall. Their draw to kick things off is medium to closer to the easier side. I'd say it's in the top halves for the good side of the draw. And Turbo, on the other hand, has that slightly better draw. Ponga has some slightly easier teams in the first 3, I should say. Souths are good for the first couple. He does play the Panthers in there fairly soon as well. So it's a fun pick. Latrell Mitchell, is it going to be perfect for you? James Tedesco is next on the list, and at 55.2 average, 737k, the price reaction is fair. The role is awesome. We absolutely love it. And it was bounce back season for Teddy last year. I just think looking at the situation, he's getting a little bit older. He got to a 48 last year, which is not terrible. For 48.7, playing pretty average in 2023. I just think there's going to be a lack of upside this year based on, yes, how well last year went. He absolutely crushed Supercoach and was the best Supercoach player and managed to only score, when I say only, because he was involved in so many tries and all the rest, but still averaged 55, but didn't get to that 60. And he doesn't have the goals. He doesn't have the kicking in general play upside. That kind of stuff is what pushes you into the 60 plus. The 55 is him just being an absolutely dominant fullback in setting up tries, in running, in tackle breaks, and scoring them himself. So with the team likely not to be as good, I just can't see him going further than the 55, and I can see a potential where he goes into the early 50s and 50 rather than the mid 50s price where he's at right now. I just think he can only do so much with the new halves your combo, and then also no superstar centers. He did have a 54 average in 2022, so I think somewhere in the early 50s for me is still expected after being a 48.7 guy playing average in 2023. Dylan Edwards, 730k for him, 54.7 the average last year, and when you look at him, it's 48 and 45 of the previous 2 years. So when you look at that price, it's potentially slightly overs or fair at best. The role reaction, he's great in a great team. He also loses a very important attacking player in the side in Jerome Luai. So I think Cleary is a pretty high chance of leaning on Edwards without Luai there for more attack. That's an expectation of mine. If you're playing with Talangi, it's not like he has a very attacking number 9. So I think between Cleary, Cleary, and then Edwards would be their number 2 option for attack. And they have guys like Isaiah Yeo who really, I think, improved that in the back end of last year as well. So Dylan Edwards with going 6.7 points above what he had in the previous year. Won't be goal kicking with Cleary there. So it's 3.6 points. So I end up working out without the goal kicking overall, and just, because he's going to be in Origin with Cleary as well. And that's when he got some extra goals in one of those games, I think. No, he was injured actually. But that's when previously, when he wasn't in Origin, you might get a chance for him to do really, really, really well there. But with him in Origin now, there's no clear run I see where he can go 58, 60 type of thing. But again, was one of those guys that dominated in Supercoach at the beginning of the year because he was kicking goals and scoring tries and setting them up at will. Yeah. So 52 and a 56 average difference with and without Cleary, which is interesting. It was only small in the end. Without Cleary, you can expect him to obviously take the goals, but the team usually isn't as good. So there's that. He's hard to take expecting the same average or potentially a little bit less, in my opinion. Kalyn Ponga is up next at 730k, and please, guys, make sure you do have a look at subscribing, following on podcasts as well. You're absolutely legends on that front. And if you haven't considered joining the private group yet, all the information is in the description. Go read all that first. Got the options on payments, and you've also got options. You've got the written analysis of everything that you're going to get from that. It's absolutely jam-packed in the preseason, and there's heaps of prizes and stuff available throughout the season as well. So thanks so much for checking that out. And if you do decide to go the extra mile, and that's the best way to support me outside of watching these videos and listening to the podcast. So thanks so much for everything you guys do, and we'll keep rolling forward with Ponga with that 53 to 58 5-round expectation. I think he's going to do pretty well. We do have the bye in round 4, which is something to note for sure with Ponga. And he's obviously great with the goals. Yeah, that's where the upside can come. And a little bit of kicking in general play as well, which is ideal. He has the 60-plus upside, which is why he's the most exciting, why he's more exciting than a lot of players. It's because he did have a 62.8 average in 2023 with a very tough start to that year. This year he has a great first 3 games, and then he has the bye. Starting slow last year, again, with the team a mess. So it's kind of happened a few years in a row now, and that is where the worry lies for me, is the way that the Knights start, with not having their team fully put together and with great combinations and doing things the right way that gets him the right ball in right positions, can feed Greg Marzu out left, who we'll speak about in the wing fullback value video. And they just seem to not use him in sets sometimes. It's like he's one of the best players in the game. Like, how do you not use him? So you could easily expect, a similar slow start for sure, to then have a bye in round 4, and that's probably where the little bit of a risk comes with Ponga. But he has a tremendous upside on the other end. Last year, if you did start with him, it was slow for the first 2 games, and then he got in his groove and everyone traded him in anyway. So you did get ahead of the game. But looking at some of these numbers, it's absolutely wild. 0.2 try scoring rate. It's so stupid. And only a 0.6 assist rate. Whereas the year before, he was well over a 1 assist rate. So that is just crazy how that ends up. So there has to be an increase in that this year. For him to still average 54 is absolutely golden, which definitely shows that if he can increase that a little bit and the Knights happen to improve, you could see him go 60 plus and be a terrific option for your side from round 1 with a pretty tasty draw. So when we look at Ponga, with Latrell, we went there, Dolphins and St. George in the first 2, but then Cronulla, Penrith and the Roosters. If you do move to Ponga in his first 3, it is the Tigers, who will be their first game with the new look. The Dolphins and the Titans there should all be higher scoring games, which is awesome. He has the bye, and then it goes into Dogs, Tigers, Sharkies there, the Warriors, Rabbitohs, Titans, all the good teams there that you want to come up against before eventually coming up against Penrith, before you might be selling Ponga around Origin, potentially, anyway. So you saw those low scores there to kick things off, 35-39 last year before going back to back to back, 70 average basically. So awesome stuff from Ponga. We know what he can provide, but that try scoring rate, you can see it there. It's absolutely disgusting on the screen. Gets plenty of run meters, which is awesome. Tackle breaks are there. The offloads are there for the most part. And yeah, just the back end of 2023. Look at these 0 and 1 minutes at the start, 9 in 80 minutes of 5/8 against the Eels with 8 missed tackles. And then he just went bonkers here. 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s. No hundreds actually, apart from 2022. But yeah, crazy upside nonetheless. So he's a fun one. He always finds his groove at some point, but when is the question. He's a great ball runner, tackle breaks, the goals, kick meters. If the attacking stats come, expect a 60 average. And we scroll over to some of those kick meters, and there were games there where he hit 230, 136.90 before slowing down again on that front. Super fun play to own in your side and watch as well. It'd more just be the fact that if the Knights do struggle a little bit, and other teams with their gun fullbacks like Latrell, Turbo, these types of guys, can they come out and be a little bit hotter and get some more attacking stats? Turbo's up next, 700k for him. It seems like a fair price. Roll reaction's great. When he's fit and firing, he's close to the best in the game. We know that. Consistency's 8. The confidence is 8.5 because we do have a lot of data now outside of 2021 where he just isn't the 55 to 60 guy. Like he had that 1 year where he was the best player in the game. It wasn't even close with him and Cleary. And he's like 20, 30 points better than that time where it's just wild. But him and Latrell, they both stand out to me as players that you can begin with that could definitely pop off. Plenty of home games early. He looked great for Australia. In the beginning of last year, he was scoring very consistently, mid-50s, 40, high 40s, all that kind of stuff. But it still looked like he was running on one good leg. Like he just didn't have a nice gait. And then you look at the back end of the year, he scored incredibly well. And then went and played for Australia and looked awesome in that as well. And was basically, was player of the tournament basically for a lot of that. So if he can come into the start of the year looking more like he did at the back end of last year, then that would be terrific. And you could easily see him go into the 55 plus territory, considering the last bunch of games that we saw from him and what happened for Australia there as well. So you're looking back at those last few weeks, and obviously, it can happen as teams begin to tire. Like you had Dogs when they were struggling a bit, but just the defense seems to go out the window a little bit. Like 46 to 24. In those types of games, it's a bit closer earlier on in the year. Whereas you're looking at Titans 38 to 8. He went double in round 20 for a 91, a double in round 23 for 78, 91 in round 25, in amongst some, a couple of 30s and a 57. But that type of upside lends you to a 60-point average. And he's such a great try scorer. He's always over 1 try per game and will continue to do so. If he looks fit, that's the exciting part of it. And that's where those big scores came, as I said. And he just hasn't been that free-flowing guy for the last bunch of years. And that's why 2021 was ridiculous, because he was free-flowing, fit and firing. And he's a few years older now, which I think is actually probably good. He's going to be smarter as a player. Not just all raw speed, it's going to be the smarts as well. Ball handling will continue to... And passing, ball handling. I'm talking... I played too much basketball, clearly. His passing game is going to be improved off the back of that as well. And we just see the smarts coming year on year. On the other hand, you're looking at, he had the one injury last year, so that's good news. And on the other hand, it is his second best season average. So there's definitely risk on that because he's gone under this each and every year apart from 2021. And he usually is a better SC pick than fantasy. I think his team looks pretty solid again. He should be good and is someone that I'm definitely interested in to begin the season with the run that you see from them with Cows, the Waz, Canberra, Para is the starting 4. Before it does get a little bit harder with Melbourne into, Sharks would be a good team. So he's got 3 out of the top 4 teams in that 4-game stretch before their bye in round 8 or something, round 9. So fun one. See how it goes. For Reece Walsh, 700k for him. He's been priced up 2.5 points. So that's the frustrating part on Reece's standpoint with that one big injury game. One was in Origin, one was in there against the Panthers there with Taylor May hitting him. I can't believe. And he got the bin. Anyway, roll reaction, really decent. We know what he can do, and the team was pretty poor last year, and that needs to come into play and into factor here. But let's just look at the situation. I do have him between a 50 and a 55, so probably a little bit of upside there. The problem is that he's been priced up 2.5 on that average of 50.1, so he's sitting at 52.5. So last year he had the 1 try, the 0.6 assists, 4.4 tackle breaks, the 154 meters plus the 150 kick meters. So it looks, apart from the straight up attack, it looks very similar to a situation that you see with like a Ponga. But he already had the 1 try per game, whereas Ponga has the 0.2. Can you imagine what Ponga's stats would look like and what he would average if he hit a 1 try per game? It's actually wild to think how that would end up, because you're adding in the line breaks, the tackle breaks, all that stuff involved with that try most of the time. So the question is, how does this type of stat improve so much? Maybe the assist, for sure, but it could be hard. With that 54 average, he gets a 54 average if you take out the head smash, and he also had 1.4 goals per game, which, you have to take out at the start of the season anyway. Team was also very poor. But if it can improve, I think that's where you can expect some improvement into the 50 to 55 range. All the firepower in the world now with Ben Hunt, so you can go left and right and have awesome weapons. Obviously, they had Ezra Mam there, who was a good weapon as well. But even with the kicking boot, I think that's where Hunt's going to add things on the left-hand side as well. And you also have to note that he did average 48 the year before, where the tries were at 0.4, and that's where you saw that, basically in full games, you had that 6-point difference, which was helpful there as well. So I think that he will be somewhere similar to where he's priced at without the tremendous upside of goal kicking, and he has plenty of errors in his game. And that's why it's hard for him with all those good stats to go incredibly well past the 50, and you see that with guys like Lomax as well. Very attacking flair type players sometimes can get in a little strife with the errors, and that's just dropping their scores down, especially when they have poor games. Scotty Drinkwater is next up. 654K for him. There's definitely some interest from the NRL Fantasy community on this man, that's for sure, at 654. His role, it looks pretty great with goals, to be fair. You're looking at a team that had 8 points per game in goals. And that's with, when Val Holmes was playing. Drinkwater did get a couple of attempts last year, but nothing crazy. And he's got a very similar style to Ponga as well, without the goals so far, with the kick meters, the running, and the tackle breaks there as well. And some chatter from Zach Labart there saying that he did say Duffy first. He's the highest point scorer in camp, but personally he doesn't have the best percentage. He has 73% he kicked at last year, and Drinky kicks better than that. So they are definitely fighting it out at this stage, apparently. So we'll see how that one plays out. And obviously that means Duffy has to get picked first, and we're unsure on that one. So we'll have to wait and see. If he doesn't have the goals, then definitely don't pick. And if he has the goals, then you look into him further. There's definitely some excitement there, because the team's likely worse, or missing the 8, to be fair, personally. So I think there is a lot on his shoulders to direct the team around with Dearden, to be the attacking flair player. And he just doesn't have a lot of the easier try assists that he can get from guys like Kyle Feld, who's an absolutely incredible finisher, and he also had Val Holmes on his left that could finish tries like crazy as well. So leaving those two guys out and having rookies or Zach Labart, these types of guys in those spots who are good players. That right-hand side, he might have Braden Burns, but none of them are Feld and none of them are Holmes in their position. So that's my worry with Drinky, and I think it's easy to see the addition of 7 points with goals, but do the other issues there, make it less exciting, and bring that average down from like a 56 with the goals to somewhere near the 50 mark, and basically what you've got him priced at, or somewhere close to it. Because we know that he's not great defensively. There are games that, especially if the Cows are struggling, he will have low scoring games and low floor games. So that's the worry with Drinkwater, and why personally I'm not going to go with him, even if he is to get the goals. But I do see if he can be the guy that shoulders the load for the side, potentially increases his attack even more. If it's so high already, then that could work. Easy to expect the low 50s with the goal kicking, and he did kick a little bit in general play as well, as I saw. But they're similar. Their numbers are already, those that are numbers that are already there. So yeah, interesting with Drinkwater for sure. And we'll go through the last three now. We've got Keanu Keeney, which is the last of the actual big discussions, because we got To'o and Gutho, who I think are less valuable picks anyway. But Keeney, the frustrating one with him is they've actually priced him up about 1.3 points, getting him to a 49 pricing, which is going to be important once we go through him for sure. But the initial price reaction was unders, just because we know that he can go 50 plus, and there's definitely room to grow with Keanu Keeney after a tough start to the year. When I owned him, he then went on to hit a 50 plus average for the remainder of the year, all the way up at 54.5, which is so sad because I bought him to get a couple of good games out of him and go from there, and it just didn't work out very well. Sadly to see. I look back at my round one team, I'm like, what are you doing with some picks, bro? Like, that one was unfortunate because I knew the talent that he had, but it wasn't to be in the first few games when he had two absolute shockers. But let's hit the ground running here, because I think he can. If you go from round 10, as I said, he averaged 54.5. He did hit 80 plus in 3 games, which is awesome. Definitely showing there's upside there. He's an absolute live wire, and the fitness on him is incredible. He only had a 0.4 try rate, which I don't think is crazy at all when you see some guys get near the 1 mark. 220 meters and 4 tackle breaks with 1.5 offloads is a lovely base and power, which is also said in the Supercoach world a lot, and I love it. Titans, they do get RCG and they get Tino back, which is some lovely go forward there. Very, very happy for having those guys back if you are looking at Keeney. The big one obviously is his buy round 1. And that does increase his downside risk if he comes out slow in round 2 or 3. But it does look like he has some type of value. And if he continues to go the way he is and the Titans can be decent, then I do expect that try rate to increase. But we also didn't mention his try assists because they were very low. So if he can become a little bit more of a ball player and improve the try scoring rate, then all the work rate stuff are going to stay, just like Dylan Edwards. It's just this kind of stuff that's going to be really important. But you do look at, teams are going to target him a little bit more now and make sure they follow him, given he had such an important season for him. And if there's all-out attack, then that's going to be great for the Titans. If we see Campbell and we see a Brimson in the halves, that means all-out attack and will be awesome for someone like Keeney. Games that are 40 to 30 are perfect for Keeney because he can do all his work and then he can be involved in tries, which is exactly what you want for those attacking players in a side. And the run's pretty nice in general, all the way up until their next buy. So, I'm expecting 50 plus from Keeney. He's priced at 49. Is this enough to end up in a situation where you do loop in round 1? We actually just got news that Carter Gordon, unfortunately, has got a back problem and likely to miss early rounds. So he's probably not the cheaper looper guy that you might want to look at. So that's frustrating. Do you grab him in round 1 if the situation fits with a guy in your 18 or 19 scoring well and you can bring in one of these Titans guys? Or do you just wait until a better opportunity to buy him arises later after their buy? Up to you. All right, To'o. Pretty fair for him, 47.5 where he's priced at. He should just be more of the same as previous years for sure. Has been pretty stock standard near the 50 mark in recent years. Last year he had more games that were low than he had bangers, and then he would have some bangers, with 1 ton last year. I just think it's hard to catch someone like that. His base stats aren't as ridiculous as he's gotten a little bit older. He had a 44 average in 2023 also, so I just don't see as a winger it improving too greatly. It'd just be more if they really dominated one side like previous years. They go left a lot. He's moved to the right, back to left. It's changed plenty. And they don't seem to have a dominant one side anymore. Luai's out. How do they play? Is he going to be on Cleary's right-hand side? And if it is, he could still do well. But we'll avoid. And then Clint Gutherson to finish things off. And thanks so much, everyone, for lasting this long. You're all legends. Let me know in the comments if you last all the way through to the video until Clint Gutho, the GOAT, Gutherino. Just comment Gutherino and I'll give you some love. You can comment more if you like, but that's the easy one. I think he's going to have an important role at the Dragons. I just think with less cooks in the kitchen, that could be helpful for him because he does seem to score better when someone like Moses is out. where he becomes a bit more of an attacking focused guy, and obviously goal kicking and stuff adds to it as well, which he won't have at the Dragons. He's probably third in line. I think he should be able to work pretty well with Cook and Little, and probably take more of a role in attack, because he's had, no offense, not great hookers in the last few years, and he obviously did with Reid Marnie. But with these running type forwards in Cook and Little, I think that he can be pushing up through as an effort player, pushing up through the back on the inside and being there to finish some more tries off and different things like that. And with the experience that those guys have, especially Cook and Gutho, I think they can work well together. But he's someone that's never gone over a 50 average, so I personally would have to hold off and see how it looks with Gutho. I think we'll keep it as simple as that. He's not too expensive, but he just hasn't been a top tier gun, so it is a no from me. Guys, if you are looking for my wing fullback strategy and my rankings for the position, please do consider joining the private group. All the info is in the description, and I appreciate you watching this video.